It does need to be high level, and it does need to foster creativity. Like you said, you're talking to homeschooling children. These children have a creative bone still in their body. The world has not beaten it out of them yet. And so let them dream. What can they do to produce money? And there's just 1,000 different ways.
Folks, welcome back to the High Voltage Business Builders Podcast. I'm your host, Neil Twa. If you have wondered about creating a generational wealth journey that might have to do with more than just e-commerce, we talk about that in the way we build companies to exit and repeat the process and take active investment and turn it into more passive or almost automated income as you build up a business and create operational efficiencies. But there's someone I wanted to talk to today, and I'm excited to bring him on. He's part of a business that's been around for over 40 years. They've done or have around 75 million in assets under current management and have over 1,000 plus different real estate notes and other notes out into the field. So they've got a consistent, deep, and long-term depth of knowledge when it comes to creating generational wealth and passive income from different types of things, from real estate to oil and gas and others. So I'm excited to have this conversation today with Martin. Martin, thank you so much for coming on the call, and let's dig into this, okay?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Neil. And just for a point of clarity, my partner and I each have about 20 years, so I'm not that old yet.
Understood. Yeah, no, I appreciate the phrasing. I get that. My partner and I have like 195 years of real world experience.
Yeah.
We're good. Let's go to gross exaggerations, not that much. But no, I appreciate that. So where did you start in this journey? Was it something that you just did, something your family did, something you learned through college, or just the Hard Knocks University? How did you get into this?
Yeah, so I started with a guy you probably never heard of, Robert Kiyosaki, and Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
I've heard some rumors about him, yeah.
My wife and I, we were always had an entrepreneurial bone to us. We met in 2002 and we started dating, and it seemed like Robert was like a third person in our relationship because we were studying him. We wanted to be financially free. We wanted to live off monthly passive income. And that was 20 years ago. And so the first premise that we picked up on is you need to have a business first and foremost that produces cash flow. So we launched a government contracting company in the basement of our home by which to start producing cash flow.
I'm sorry to hear that. I've been involved in government contracts as a subcontractor before, as you and I talked about it. Man, that's a bit of it's a good way to get things going and it sounds really sexy, but it ultimately has challenges, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. No, selling to bureaucrats, I don't know, other than when you get paid, I don't know that there's a sexiness element to it.
Not the most sexy in the world, selling hammers for $20,000 a piece or whatever. Isn't that the room? Or is it toilets? I forget which one it is.
Yeah, no, actually, that's kind of play is reserved for the big boys.
That's reserved for the big guy. I wasn't.
Yeah, when you're a small guy or gal, you're really grinding it out, trying to move upstream.
Yeah. Funny story. My partner, Reed, used to help set up the events for Robert Kiyosaki and knows him better. I've never met him personally, but I understand they had a good relationship, which is cool because I learned a few things about that. But is his plan of action something you kind of follow then in terms of debt to wealth and ratio and passive income? Is that kind of, you followed him through that? Where did it lead you?
Yeah. So cash flow quadrant, right? Which a lot of us have read. You have the employee in the upper left-hand corner. That didn't resonate with me or my wife. We started in the business, small business ownership, independent contractor, that kind of thing. And with the aspiration of moving over into the business owner quadrant, which is the upper right-hand corner, eventually into the wealth category on the bottom right-hand corner. So that was really our thing. We wanted to build a business. We had 10 employees. We were selling to the government. We were making payroll the day of in some cases and until we got off the ground. But eventually we moved over into the upper right-hand quadrant of business.
I just refamiliarized myself with the cash flow quadrant because I taught a small homeschool group of entrepreneurial kids who wanted to learn about things. We taught the cash flow quadrant and went through the different things that they could do in order to make money, be self-employed, or build a business and derive cash flow and assets. It really kind of is basic in some ways, isn't it? Don't we tend to want to overcomplicate this a little too much?
Yeah, absolutely. Because it does need to be high level and it does need to foster creativity. So people can, like you said, you're talking to homeschooling children. These children have a creative bone still in their body. The world has not beaten it out of them yet. And so let them dream. What can they do to produce money? And there's just 1,000 different ways.
Yeah, it is an interesting. We teach people in our groups, how to think, not what to think. And there's a big difference in, somebody was bringing this up the other day, and I know this is sort of on topic, but a little bit off, but it really has to do with the learning and aptitude of your financial IQ and where you get it from and how does it mature in the process till you can grasp the concepts you're talking about. Everybody wants to go straight to investing, but they forget there needs to be some mechanism of business or real estate or some other activity of income producing assets that lead you to an investor. And this is one of the things we were teaching with the children. But I think so many people get caught up in, what is it they get caught up in? I'll let you define it because I have my own terminology. But what do people get caught up in that keeps them from becoming a smart investor?
Emotion. Emotions. Yeah. So the closer someone's I believe that this is my just 2 cents. The closer someone is to between their active income, how much they're grinding for the dollar, and the actual investment that they're placing, the more emotion is going to be involved. So if you're an employee or you're a solar practitioner and you're just 100-hour plus, on the grind, and then you invest in Bitcoin or you invest in stock market, you're going to closely follow and carry a lot of stress and anxiety over the performance of that investment. Yeah. But if you're a business owner and you have 20 people, like our company has 20 people and they're doing things I don't like to do, and we're spitting off passive income on a monthly basis, investing only with that passive income, then I take the emotion out of it. Because if that investment goes to zero, God forbid, my monthly passive income is still being produced.
Now, the word passive gets tossed around a little bit. So let's kind of pull that out and kind of define it for just a second. As my mom likes to say, let's double click on it for a sec, because passive means what? It means different things to different people. What does it mean to you? What does it mean to your clients?
So the recurring nature of it comes with very little effort, but the initial deployment or the initial vetting of the opportunity or asset that you invest in should come with a significant or an ample level of effort. Because if you buy into the right asset with the right operator, with the right return profiles in mind, and you do it correctly, then the recurring nature should be an easier go.
What we call investing in what you know, or investing in the knowing, right? Which one do you take that in order? It sounds like you're taking it, invest in the knowing first and then invest in the known.
Yeah, I think everything's educational based. I think you should, like our company, we invest in real estate and energy. So if you own a house, if you pay a mortgage, if you rent your home, or if you fill up your car or truck at the gas station every week, you pretty much can grasp what it is we buy to produce monthly passive income. And so now the production for us, the production of the monthly passive income as it relates to our business, I'm very active that way, but I have a lot of mortgages and a lot of other true passive income assets that I don't have to think about. It just hits the account every day.
So you initially invested your time. Obviously, you invested your money in the growth and knowledge of that. What were some of the things you learned along the way that got you to this position?
Yeah, keeping focus is so significant. So we were grinding it out as a small business owner, 5 to 10 employees, selling to the government. I was traveling around the country, stressed out of my mind. I could very well be that person that I was 15 years ago, but I kept focused on building financial freedom and creating monthly passive income. So every time I created income, I was able to qualify that income to say, was this passive? No. Was it active with a lot of stress and anxiety linked to it? Yes. Okay, well, let me move on. So then I started buying my wife and I started buying real estate properties, commercial and residential, landlording. And I'm like, yeah, we're getting some passive income, but it's not to the level that we're striving for. Yeah. So it's not, we found passive income, but you can find something, but it cannot meet your means or your aspirations and goals. And so we found it in 2013 when we sold our company, and I placed about $240,000 into buying some non-performing mortgages. And I got into the mortgage industry. That's when I learned true passive income.
Interesting. So when you say you bought into some underperforming mortgages, what does that look like?
Yeah. So these are mortgages that were originated. It's called legacy paper, which mortgages originated in like the mid 2000s. Mortgages that probably should have never been originated. I'll just say that. And so the homeowners, they go belly up at some point. They lose their job or a health issue or a divorce or some unfortunate scenario we can all kind of relate to. And so they stop paying their mortgage. Well, the banks hold these on their books or they sell it into the secondary mortgage market at a discount. And I started 2013, I met someone at a local real estate club. Again, place yourself in an educational environment, right? Real estate club. That's really the key phrase if you pick up on this. And he taught me the industry poorly at that, but he taught me the industry enough where I put money out and I took a lot of hits with that initial money, but I learned what I needed to learn.
Learning curve. That's called a learning curve. Yeah, we're all familiar with those different kinds of learning curves in life, aren't we?
The best learning curves are the one that come with a spoonful of humility.
Always with humility if we're willing to accept it.
Because if you're not humble,
right,
then you're going to do it again.
You'll do it again and bigger and worse. Yeah, exactly. You'll just keep digging that trench.
And so I learned what not to do with mortgages. But the one saving grace is one of those mortgages out of the 10 that I purchased for the initial $240,000. I called, talked to the homeowner. They're like, yeah, let me start paying you again. So here you go, mortgage, $100,000 balance. I probably paid $20,000 for it. And they're like, let me start paying you at $100,000 again. I got my job back, whatever the case was at the time. And I'm like, that sounds good to me. And then month after month, year after year, they make their payments. I never have to talk to them. I never have to hear from them. The servicer collects the payments for me.
So the bank had a $100,000 mortgage setting on it. It had defaulted. I'm just going to summarize this in my own language, so forgive me, so I can break this down so I get it. And you basically paid the bank $20,000 for a $100K mortgage, but the homeowner knows they had a $100,000 balance on their mortgage, and they decided to go ahead and start repaying. Only you're now the lender in this instance, so they pay you instead. So you have a lending agreement with them in which they pay you monthly for their mortgage instead of the original bank. Is that a simple summary?
That is. Now, the key to it
legal
all.
details, disclaimers all below this, everything I just said.
Well, I'm giving you the other side of the coin because
you're kind of legal terminology correct.
No, I see where your mind's going. And so when you buy the mortgage, you're assuming all the rights and responsibilities of the originating lender. So there is compliance and other factors you have to keep in mind. Now, here's the rub. It's easy to buy a $100,000 mortgage for $20,000 that's worth zero. There's 100 ways you can lose that $20,000. So this is where it's a nuanced industry, and it's not like real estate where you go look at the home and you're like, oh, roof looks good. Let me bang on the walls. No mold here. There's collateral. There's paperwork. If that paperwork's not, originated correctly, if there's statute of limitations, if it's out of date. Yeah, there's just a number of ways of certain licensing on a state by state basis. So I learned all the things not to do initially, and then I just learned how to do things correctly. I did a podcast one time and someone they landscaped on my property the whole time. It was the worst experience I've ever had.
Well, they weren't in there for the last 2 hours and all of a sudden he starts talking right in the middle of this. The team will cut all that out. So obviously you've got time and energy and money involved. There's a specific criteria of defining those. Have you moved into more of the same type of distress, or you've moved into other areas, or maybe you can explain a little bit more about where you went from that point forward?
Yeah. So once I realized that in 2013, this was a change in experience for me philosophically, because up to that point, I was a student of Robert Kiyosaki's, and I really just wanted to first make $1 million. Then I wanted to have $1 million net worth. Then I wanted to blah, 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 $1 million in the bank. And I realized in 2013, I'm like, it's not about that. That's too small of a goal and aspiration in life. It needs to be about, why don't I look to service and provide value to 1 million people? Why don't I look to help change the world in a positive place? Like I had already done well enough financially where I'm like, you know what, my values started to change. And so I got into this. I'm like, look, I was able to forgive some money for this person. They owed probably 130 and I probably forgive 30,000 and just kept their $100,000 mortgage. So I was able to help set this person back on track, whereas the bank could care less. And meanwhile, they have a per diem interest accrual on their account. Every day they don't pay, $5, $10, $20 gets added to their account, which is just atrocious because half the time people don't even know that's happening.
Yeah, no, they don't always pay attention to those details as much.
So I found like a way, I'm like, wow, this could be like create passive income and be of service to people. And I'm like, this is it for me.
Interesting. So you started to take, it sounds like, distressed banknotes, and instead of giving them the full amount back as an amount due, you started to give some first, help them out, and then that incentivized them to be in a good place with you.
Yeah.
Which is a win.
Yeah. So the industry is interesting because there's two ways you can go. You can exit through the homeowner or you can exit through the property. There are Wall Street companies and there are other companies that they won't talk to a homeowner. They're just going to want to get the property back because they can get a $200,000 property because of this $100,000 obligation. And so that's their MO, displacing families. And I said, there's no way in the world I'm going to do that. Plus, I'm a cash flow player. I want monthly passive income coming in for 20, 30 years. And I want to do it in an ethical way. So I may not get the initial hit, the initial bump, or my return of capital is not within 1 year or what have you. I may need 3 years to get my money back, but it's fine because it's a snowball building process. So we just started buying as many mortgages, self-funded with my own money as possible for 7 years, actually.
Wow. How many did you buy during that time frame?
Probably a good 400, 500 mortgages, easy.
Wow.
And I wrote a few books. So in 2017, I was at church on a Sunday and I just felt like God was speaking to me. And he's like, you got to share what you know with others. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm creating this again. Like I thought I'm being of service to the homeowner, but I'm not serving as well as I can serve or to the extent. So then I took about 4 months, wrote Note Investing Made Easier, the first book, and it just became an Amazon bestseller in the mortgage category, which there's like 5 people, but still became a bestseller. And people started reaching out to me and I'm like, wow, people actually want to learn to do this, what I'm doing. So I'm a service to the homeowner, but people want to also they like this model of compassion too. So I started to connect with people and form a community. And that was like kind of the next phase of things.
That is very cool. And this is where Bequest became a part of what you're doing now?
Actually, no, that was like a third phase because what happened is that people started reading the books. They kept reaching out and they're like, look, I'm not looking to have a whole business on getting distressed mortgages. I just want monthly passive income. Like I'm a doctor. I'm performing surgery. I'm not looking to go and call homeowners at 7 p.m. and negotiating loan modifications. So in 2020, my partner and I, we met. His name's Sean Munyo. He was one of the first people to read my book. And so he connected with me and I mentored him and we started doing deals together. 2019, we formed a company because there was a lot of good synergy and started buying mortgages at a rapid pace because he came from fintech. So he had technology and a strong finance background. So we decided, hey, let's open up an income fund to serve all these individuals that are looking for monthly passive income.
Very cool. And so about 5 years now, you've been into that roughly.
We launched the income fund in early 2020. So about 3 years.
Well, 3 years. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
And how is it performing and how clients are happy? Things are going well?
Yeah. We've never missed a payment, never been late. We're on like month 45. So we're actually going on our 4th year. The income fund's healthy and we pay between 8% and we have a third fund now actually. So between 8% and 11% annual preferred return and never missed a payment.
Is there a minimum investment somebody would need to get in going or is it?
50,000.
So 50,000 into the fund is going to produce roughly an 8% churn over how much time?
It's an evergreen fund. So you can come in, you can add to it. Some people put 50 in and then they put additional a few thousand a month or something like that to kind of snowball the compounding effect.
Snowball. Yeah. Well, compound. Who doesn't like compound interest, right? But
a lot of people, there's a lot of people that don't know about it. Actually.
I know. I think people still don't have education on compounding interest. Maybe give us a quick lesson on what it means.
Yeah. It means that, I'll say this, like there's an app your Apple phone, and it probably on the Android too. It's called Compounder. Look it up and just play with it. It will open your eyes. It should open your eyes. And just to see if you put 100,000 into an income fund product. And the key is to do your research so you understand the asset, you understand the operator, kind of what we touched on earlier. So you have a comfort level. Do your due diligence up front and know who you're invested with. And you'll have confidence and predictability over the outcome of what the compounder app's going to show you. But yeah, there's like 8% compounds at 8.28%, 10% compounds at like 10.5. And especially if you add on incrementally each month, it can be very powerful.
Very cool. How many people do you have investing along with you now?
About a little over 100.
A little over 100. Okay. And do they need to be accredited investors, or can anybody just come in even if they have 100K or not?
They need to be accredited.
Okay.
Yes.
So some requirements are important. Where can people check out more about that?
You go to bqfunds.com is the website.
Now, you guys are U.S. based, if I'm not mistaken, out of Florida?
Yes. Yep. Sarasota, Florida. But I want to touch on this because I think this is really important. There's a lot of people that are not accredited. And for a number of years, I wasn't. And you're just trying to move it forward. This is where education, reading the books, listening to podcasts like yours, putting yourself in the right place instead of like going out, I don't even know, like to a bar, going out, hanging out, drinking buddies or whatever. Like go to a real estate club, and just hang out with other kind of nerdy real estate people and just learn and just pick up things and really just invest in your own education, build a financial statement. That was one of the things Kiyosaki does, right? The cash flow board game. You have a financial statement. That's the heart of your whole game experience, is how you're maneuvering with your financial statement, not how you're maneuvering around the board or what card you pick, and maintaining that statement. So
yeah, that's really good. And you mentioned your book, but you didn't mention the name, so I'll call it out for you on your behalf. Is it on Amazon? Can somebody get it, or what's the name of the book and how can they get it?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So you could just put my name in Amazon, Martin Saenz. I've written 5 books, actually. It's kind of,
oh, okay.
So,
cool.
So I really am a fan of education, and I put out my whole game book, like anything I've done that I feel like it might work for someone else. Like I'll put it there and then take it or leave it.
Well, I'll put in a shameless plug for Amazon and the physical product side, because that's where we work. And if you need cash flow for that, might be a great place to start with physical assets. Take that, invest in more inventory and potentially real estate and energy deals. Thanks for coming and sharing some good information, helping us learn a little bit about compounding interest. And then, of course, your story is amazing. And I appreciate you sharing that with me today.
Thanks, Neil. Thanks for having me on.